Normalize that one of the main platforms right now of MAGA Republicans in the Senate and the House of Representatives is quite literally to defund the police, to defund the DOJ, to defund the FBI. They're not hiding it. They're saying it. I'll just give you an example of what Marjorie Taylor Greene said within the past year, but they say this all the time. Here, let's play this clip.
Now, there's many of us that have vowed we're doing everything we can to defund the Department of Justice, to defund the FBI, and to fight the weaponized government. But I want to explain also the serious situation that we are all in.
I want to bring in right now Democratic Congressmember Seth Magaziner from Rhode Island. Congressman, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
When you see your colleagues, I guess that's who they are, these MAGA Republicans like Marjorie Taylor Greene and most of the others, as they've become full MAGA, say things like that. You sit on the Homeland Security Committee. When they talk about defunding consistently the DOJ, the FBI, and how integral those entities are to our security apparatus, what goes through your mind?
Well, this is all part of their plan to turn Donald Trump into a dictator. I mean, that's what they want. That's what Trump wants, and therefore it is what Marjorie wants and Matt Gaetz and the rest of them. They want him to be able to break the law whenever he wants, however he wants. They want his followers, like on January 6th, to be able to break the law whenever they want. And as long as they do it under a MAGA banner, then they don't want there to be any consequences. And they're totally fine with these private militias, the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers and the Three Percenters using violence, using intimidation to suppress liberals and people of color and anyone who's different from them. But they don't want there to be any consequences. And so, this whole notion that Republicans are the party that support law enforcement and back the blue, I mean, Marjorie just admitted it's not true. And what's really disturbing to me about all of this is the way that this is not just a few crackpots anymore. It's not just like Marjorie and one or two others anymore, but it's become normalized across most Republicans in Congress. You mentioned that I'm on the Homeland Security Committee. So is she. She should not be within 100 yards of the Homeland Security Committee because she coddles domestic extremists. She supports people who stormed the Capitol and attacked police officers on January 6th. She's trying to defund the Department of Justice. And they reward that behavior by putting her on the Homeland Security Committee. There are two other equally extreme, less high profile, but equally extreme members of the House, Scott Perry and Ronnie Jackson, who's Trump's former doctor and, possibly drug dealer. The Speaker of the House, Speaker Johnson, just appointed both of them to that House Intelligence Committee, where they will have access to our country's most closely guarded national security secrets. This is not just a isolated case of a few lunatics. Unfortunately, now the lunatics are running the asylum, and Speaker Johnson is appointing them to very sensitive committees, and it's yet another reason why Democrats have to win elections this fall.
Donald Trump is not running on any actual policies as the leader of the Republican Party, but what he does go around as he kind of rants and raves in these traveling fascist circus events that he calls rallies is he talks about how he wants to free the hostages, he says, referring to the January 6th insurrectionists. He says that the January 6th insurrectionists have been treated, this is a direct quote from him from this past weekend in Las Vegas, more horrifically than any group in the history of the world, he says. And then he calls the January 6th insurrectionists warriors, and that January 6th was a setup. This is his main platform, running for the presidency of the United States of America. And just so that people don't think that what I'm saying is hyperbolic, let me just show you the clip of Donald Trump from this past weekend. Let's play this clip.
And we're going to change that around. We want to be fair. So we're going to change that. And we're going to change it. And we're going to change it fast. But those J6 warriors, they were warriors, but they were really more than anything else. They're victims of what happened. All they were doing is protesting a rigged election. That's what they were doing. And then the police say, go in, go in, go in, go in. How about Scaffold Joe, the guy on the scaffold? Or how about the big FBI guy or whatever, wherever he comes from? Go on in, everybody, go on in. What a setup that was. What a horrible, horrible thing. And you know, that blows two ways. That blows two ways, believe me.
And when he says that blows two ways, believe me, that's a threat that he's making as well. So what do you make of that whole statement?
Yeah, you know, I think a lot of us used to think that Trump would say things like this and would cozy up to these extremists because he was a small man and it, you know, fed his ego to have people love him. And so he would coddle up with anybody who, you know, who would say nice things about him. We're well past that now. That's not what this is. What this is Donald Trump wanting to have a private army of thugs to go after his perceived opponents. Like, that's what this is. And, you know, we have seen this in other places throughout history that would-be dictators, when they are out of power, they put groups of thugs together to be their own private army. And that's what Donald Trump wants. And you know, these people who stormed the Capitol on January 6th, they attacked police officers, they injured police officers, they killed police officers. They were doing it at the behest of Donald Trump because they wanted to stop the legal counting of votes. They wanted to stop our votes from being counted in the House of Representatives. And so, you know, for Donald Trump and Marjorie Taylor Greene to, you know, praise these people is abhorrent. But, you know, the reason that he's doing it is that he wants to spring them loose so that, you know, they'll continue to do that same exact kind of thing whenever he tells them to. That's what this is all about. And, you know, I got to say, to the real heroes who are in law enforcement, the people who put on the uniform and put themselves in harm's way every day, you know, they don't deserve this. They don't deserve to have a would-be president of the United States sending private mobs, you know, after them. Like, that's, you know, being a police officer is a hard enough job as it is without having to deal with that. And so, you know, we're in a very dangerous situation, a very delicate situation as a country right now. And I would just say to anyone who's watching, like, get off the couch and get to work. We have got to win elections this year. There's no other answer. Like, we have got to win elections.
When you say get off the couch and let's get to work, one of the things I do appreciate that the Democrats have been doing, even though not in the majority in the House of Representatives, though they have the majority in the Senate, though, is proposing solutions to issues that confront our country. I mean, take immigration. Democrats basically ceded leadership of the negotiation because compromise is important, and there were many prongs to a deal that was being discussed. But on the immigration prong, Oklahoma Republican Senator James Lankford, who's viewed as, you know, the one of the most conservative people on the issues of immigration. Lankford, Senator Lankford, you lead those negotiations. Give us your wish list. Of course, we want to make sure that we fundamentally protect basic humanity and decency and things like that. But you go ahead and you lead the negotiations there, and let's try to come up with a compromise. And so the Republican Senator James Lankford does that, proposes something. A lot of things that maybe Democrats didn't agree with, some things they agreed with, a lot of things that mostly the Republicans got what they wanted, but then Democrats got certain types of funding obligations that was necessary and needed to help fund necessary things overseas. And then Donald Trump gives the directive, kill the immigration bill. I don't want anything that helps the country during an election year because I think that helps me. And again, you don't have to take my word for it. You can take the conservative Oklahoma Senator James Lankford, who says this is what happened. Here's what Senator Lankford said about the compromise that was reached between Democrats and Republicans and how Trump and other right-wing MAGAs killed that bill. Here, play this clip.
In fact, I had a popular commentator 4 weeks ago that I talked to that told me flat out, before they knew any of the contents of the bill, nothing was out at that point, that told me flat out, if you try to move a bill that solves the border crisis during this presidential year, I will do whatever I can to destroy you.
I mean, that's obviously Sean Hannity or Laura Ingraham or Jesse Waters or someone likely at Fox or some right-wing comment. I don't know who specifically it is, but that they're surrogates of Donald Trump saying that to him. So that's the problem with that's not what politics should be about.
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's bad politics. I mean, I think when Joe Biden wins in the fall, we will look back and say that this was one of those moments when the Republicans really messed up politically, because now that gives Democrats the ability to go all around the country saying, hey, we had a bipartisan deal to fix the border, to get more funding to the border, policy changes, to have a more orderly system at the border. And it was Donald Trump and the Republicans who blew it up because they wanted to have an issue to campaign on instead of actually solving the problem. And so, they did it for politics, but it's bad politics. But to your broader point about, Democrats being willing to roll up our sleeves and negotiate and solve problems, I believe in this strongly. And Hakeem Jeffries, our leader in the House, says this all the time. We don't beat the Republicans by acting like them, right? They are acting like, children. They are infighting. They're, dunking on each other online instead of actually trying to get things done for the American people. Our job is not to try to mimic them. Our job is to show that we are the party that is serious about getting things done. And, they want the voters to look at Washington and say, oh, all of these people are the same. These two parties are the same. And so, it doesn't matter. I'm going to stay home, or I'm going to, vote for the reality TV star or whatever. Our job is to not just call them out on their BS, but also to proactively do positive things that'll make people's lives better and govern, so that people realize that there is a real difference here. And so at the same time that we're going to call out the Republicans on their extremism, we are also advancing bills and advancing an agenda to try to solve problems and make people's lives better.
Then finally, talking about advancing an agenda to solve problems and make people's lives better, I want to talk about a bill that you introduced, the Protected Time Off Act. I know it's very important to you, guaranteeing paid vacation days for all workers. Seems like an obvious thing that should exist here, but shockingly, it doesn't. This impacts tens of millions of people. Can you talk about this bill? What are the next steps with it? Do you think you have the support to get this through? Where do we go from here?
Yeah, so I represent, a mostly blue collar district. And when I talk to people from my district in Rhode Island, nurses and firefighters and machinists and factory workers, like, people are tired, right? Like, as Americans, we work really hard. We have an ethic of hard work in America, and that's a good thing. But like, people deserve to get some time off too. And there's no guarantee for paid time off in this country. There's 23 million Americans who don't get any paid time off at work. That means, not being able to go to your kid's sports game. It means not being able to go on vacation or just take a mental health day, which is an okay thing, that we want to normalize. And so I've introduced this bill, the Protected Time Off Act, the PTO Act, we call it. It's one of those, like, I couldn't believe that it hadn't been introduced before. But we put it in a couple months ago, and we've already got a lot of support. We've got about 50 co-sponsors right off the bat, a number of endorsing organizations, labor unions, organizations that care about families and about the well-being of young people. And so, we're going to push hard on it. And obviously, we have a majority in the House, a Republican majority that doesn't really care about governing. And so, I'm not saying we're going to get it done this year, but we're going to work toward it so that when we do take back the majority and we're advancing pro-worker agenda again, a pro-worker agenda, this should be part of the package. Workers should be compensated fairly, but should also be able to take a break and not worry about losing their job for it.
Well, it sounds like a very novel concept, helping workers and not defunding the DOJ and the FBI. That's a platform that I can get behind. Congressmember Magaziner, thanks for joining us, and we hope you come back.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Hit subscribe. We're on our way to 3 million subscribers thanks to your support, and have a wonderful day.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Meidas by signing up to the Meidas Touch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.
Look, Donald Trump's cognitive meltdowns are at least starting to get the attention it deserves by corporate media. And I say starting charitably because this is so utterly unhinged and deranged what's taking place every single day. And I always like to compare Donald Trump's cognitive meltdowns to the speeches and policies and very kind of normal pro-democracy, pro-America positions of President Biden. It's why the MAGA Republican propaganda machine by Fox and other right-wing media has to work so hard to put front page covers that are just made up, false, and defamatory, like the ones they put up a few months back, Joe Bribin, right, where they had to use quite literally foreign agents, spies from Russia and China to launder information through MAGA Republican Congress members to defame President Biden with fake audio recordings that don't exist. Or now with all of the reporting going on with Donald Trump's incoherent, by the way, we don't even need the reporting, we see it, his incoherent and unhinged speeches, which many are calling just utterly meandering. That's a word we hear over and over again, right? Donald Trump gave this speech before a group of business leaders. By the way, who are these business leaders who would even meet with him? I think I know who, people who want tax cuts and willing to throw our country away and our democracy away. But even they said meandering, he couldn't put sentences together. But we've seen it on the speeches, or when Donald Trump spoke at the Capitol Hill Club, again, talking about fictitious conversations with fictitious murderous cannibals like Hannibal Lecter, who he claims he has a great deal of respect for, a fictitious cannibal murderer. Like, what are we even talking about here? But I also want to drill down as well on what Donald Trump is messaging his supporters. And you've seen, I show you the emails that he posts, right? Or the emails that he sends to his supporters. But like on Flag Day, right, commemorating the American flag, this is what Donald Trump posted, or this is what Donald Trump's team sent an email about. The email said, "This is a red flag." So his supporters get that. Then you open it up, and it says, "Claim a MAGA flag." Remember, they don't raise the American flag anymore. They don't sing our national anthem anymore. This isn't hyperbole. They sing the J6th choir song. They don't do our national anthem. They say, "Please rise for the J6th choir anthem." And they don't raise the American flag anymore. They raise the MAGA flag, flags with Trump's face on it or Trump's mugshot on it. So here you can claim the MAGA flag. It says, "This is a red flag from Donald Trump." Then it says, "I need to know where you live right now because I want to ship you the big, red, beautiful MAGA flag." What? Then Trump's campaign sends this one. "Ben, don't get scammed. This is my official dark MAGA hat." Dark MAGA? What? And it says, "Never surrender." What, you're just copying the dark Brandon thing now? And it says, "Never surrender." Just so you know what like a normal email is supposed to look like from a campaign, right? So we can see normalcy. Here are the types of emails I get from the Biden campaign. It talks about a new ad. On Flag Day, Biden-Harris 2024 launches new ad highlighting President Biden's fight for patriotism and democracy. Check out this new ad on Flag Day with the new ad highlighting President Biden's fight for patriotism and democracy. And then you click on it, and here's what you see. Here, play this clip.
"I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America."
In America, we pledge allegiance to one flag,
and to the republic for which it stands.
not this flag. This one.
One nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm Joe Biden, and I approve this message.
So while President Biden is doing that, Donald Trump gave a speech in West Palm Beach at this thing that they call Club 47, which is just like an airport conference room. And what does Donald Trump talk about? How he passed dementia tests and how he did it again. He passed another dementia test. Here, play this clip.
Ronnie, I said, well, is it hard? He said, yeah, it's hard. The last 3 quarters are pretty hard, right? The first question's easy. I said, well, let's do it, Ronnie. Let's do it. Did I ace it? I aced it. He said I aced it. Doc Ronnie from Texas.
Then he talks about he's complaining that Dr. Jill Biden would visit Hunter Biden at the criminal trial, and that makes Donald Trump very upset, he says. Here, play this clip.
But then his wife flew back and forth like it was a taxi cab. It's Air Force One and or Air Force Two. I mean, just back and forth, back and forth. Let's go, sit at a trial for a day, go back, forth, back, forth. It's really terrible. But that's...
Then Donald Trump talks more about dementia tests or cognitive tests. Here, play the clip.
In fact, I think we should have, and I've called it, all presidents should have aptitude tests, IQ tests, or cognitive tests. Dr. Ronnie Jackson gave me one.
And by the way, here is a reporter who heard about Donald Trump's speech in front of that business group where Trump couldn't put together coherent thoughts. Here, play this clip.
I will say I was surprised. I spoke to a number of CEOs who I would say walked into the meeting being Trump supporter-ish or thinking that they might be leaning that direction, who said that he was remarkably meandering, could not keep a straight thought, was all over the map, and that they, which maybe not surprising, but was interesting to me because these were people who I think might have been actually predisposed to him and actually walked out of the room less predisposed to him, actually predisposed to thinking this is not necessarily, as one person said, this may not be any different or better.
You go on Donald Trump's social media, he's posting things like this: America's last hope, with a photo of him saluting. By the way, he salutes and waves now at like imaginary crowds, and he salutes during like random songs that like are just, the whole thing is very strange. But another winning week for the markets. The NASDAQ hit its 5th all-time record high in a row this week. Here, play this clip.
All right, we wrapped up largely another winning week for the markets, especially the NASDAQ, its 5th record in a row.
It's hot outside, and your nighttime bedroom temperature has a huge impact on your sleep quality. If you wake up too hot or too cold, I highly recommend you check out Miracle Made's bed sheets. Miracle Made sheets are inspired by NASA and use silver-infused fabrics that are temperature regulating so you can sleep at the perfect temperature all night long. Using silver-infused fabrics inspired by NASA, Miracle Made sheets are thermoregulating and designed to keep you at the perfect temperature all night long, no matter the weather, so you get better sleep every night. These sheets are infused with silver that prevent up to 99.7% of bacterial growth, leaving them to stay cleaner and fresh 3 times longer than other sheets. No more gross odors. Miracle sheets are luxuriously comfortable without the high price tag of other luxury brands and feel as nice, if not nicer, than the sheets used by some 5-star hotels. Stop sleeping on bacteria. Bacteria can clog your pores, cause breakouts and acne. Sleep clean with Miracle. Go to trymiracle.com/Meidas to try Miracle Made sheets today. And whether you're buying them for yourself or as a gift for a loved one, if you order today, you can save over 40%. And if you use our promo Meidas, M-E-I-D-A-S at checkout, you'll get 3 free towels and save an extra 20%. Miracle is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you aren't 100% satisfied, you'll get a full refund. Upgrade your sleep with Miracle Made. Go to trymiracle, TRYMIRACLE, trymiracle.com/Meidas, and use the code Meidas to claim your free 3-piece towel set and save over 40%. Again, that's trymiracle.com/Meidas to treat yourself. Thank you, Miracle Made, for sponsoring this episode. Donald Trump then attacks the crowd. Again, we don't need your vote. He says, we don't need your vote. Here, play this clip.
I actually tell our people, we don't need your vote. We got so many votes, we don't need them. We just don't want to see votes stolen. We don't want to say, steal the vote. We're not letting it happen. We're not going to let it happen. It's not happening again. Our country can't take it, and we're not going to let it happen again.
One of the things that Donald Trump did as well is he attacked President Biden for being too energetic and saying, well, Biden's flying back and forth to different countries. Here, play this clip.
Dollars in waste. He is wasting hundreds of billions of dollars. Even Europe. Did you see? He flies back and forth and back and forth. He spends a day and then comes back.
The Biden campaign responded and said, well, some of us have jobs to do, Donald. Also, the Biden-Harris campaign put out a statement on the Supreme Court's ruling striking down a ban on bump stocks and allowing bump stocks to be sold freely, which is just going to put so many lives of people in danger. But this is the type of thing that you expect from, like, this is what leaders should be talking about, right? Like, how do we keep us safe? So here's the statement. Trump did this. Biden-Harris 2024 statement on SCOTUS bump stock decision. Weapons of war have no place on the streets of America, but Trump's Supreme Court justices have decided the gun lobby is more important than the safety of our kids and our communities. If you care about the gun violence crisis in this country, there is only one candidate in the race with a proven record of successfully taking on the gun lobby, and only one candidate who will ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. That's President Biden. Donald Trump, through his words, his actions, and his Supreme Court nominees, makes it very clear every day that he doesn't care if the American people live or die at the hands of weapons of war on our streets. He tells us to get over it. Trump only cares about the safety, security, and freedom of one person, Donald Trump. And part of what Donald Trump's doing is also he went on this weird podcast like Logan Paul, and a confused sounding Trump claims that the deep state is hiding aliens from him. That's what he claims. They're hiding aliens from him. Here, play this clip.
Yeah, for sure.
Is there a chance that one of these orgs is potentially hiding information from you about aliens?
I guess so. It's you have the deep state, and you do have a deep state. And certainly
in response to Donald Trump insulting the city of Milwaukee, Trump said it's a horrible city. Wisconsin Senator Tammy Baldwin writes, Donald Trump called Wisconsin's largest, most diverse, and economically powerful city horrible. He couldn't be more wrong. The people of Milwaukee will remind him in November. Meanwhile, President Biden posts, from driving forward development and clean energy, economic development, food security, and digital connectivity to historic global infrastructure investments, today's working sessions were as wide-ranging as they were productive. He was at the G7 getting things done. He also has a list of things that were done. Together, G7 nations are stepping up to meet the challenges of our time, funding Ukraine's fight for freedom, boosting the World Bank's lending firepower, confronting China's non-market policies, mobilizing capital for global infrastructure investments, helping high-ambition countries break the debt impasse, driving up costs for the Russian war machine, advancing an Indo-Pacific region that is open, secure, and prosperous, making new commitments on food and health security, coordinating to harness the benefits of AI for all while mitigating its risks. I think I want to show you this one too, though, because this to me shows the biggest contrast of all. When President Biden was at the G7, here's what he said about his son, Hunter Biden, and about the jury verdict. Play the clip.
I'm extremely proud of my son, Hunter. He has overcome an addiction. He's one of the brightest, most decent men I know. And I am satisfied that I'm not going to do anything. I said I abide by the jury decision, and I will do that, and I will not pardon him.
Now, take that and compare that to what Donald Trump said about the jury verdict and his criminal conviction after Trump was criminally convicted. Play this clip.
the judge allowed them to go into everything that I was ever involved in, not this case, everything ever involved in, which is a first. In other words, you could go into every single thing that I ever did. Was he a bad boy here? Was he a bad boy there? And my lawyer said, what do you need to go through? And all you wanted to do is testify simply on this case. Because I would have loved to have testified. To this day, I would have liked to have testified. But you would have said something out of whack, like it was a beautiful sunny day and it was actually raining out. And I very much appreciate the big crowd of people outside. That's incredible what's happening. The level of support has been incredible.
It's why it's important that we share with you the contrast here. Make it